We spend so much time looking for aliens out there. Little green men, starships, that kind of thing. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if we shouldn't be looking for a creature on a planet, but for a planet that is the creature? We're about to dive into a story about life, consciousness, and a wild mystery that connects two worlds in a way you've probably never even thought of.
So just imagine this for a second. An entire moon that's not just home to life, it is life. A single living supercomputer humming along in perfect harmony. And then, after millennia of quiet, it gets a message, a signal from deep space. And that signal? Well, that's where our story really kicks off. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're on Titan, Saturn's biggest moon. Now, you might be picturing some cold, dead rock, right? Nope. In this story, its methane seas are brewing with a really unique silicon-based ecosystem that's evolved into something, well, something extraordinary.
And here's the really cool part, how it all fits together. You've got three totally different life forms, but they work as one single consciousness. First, you have the autotrophs. Think of them like living solar panels, growing in these amazing crystalline shapes to soak up what little sunlight reaches Titan. Then there are the canoe bacteria. These guys are basically a biological internet, zipping that energy and data all over the place. And finally, you've got the chemosynthetic bacteria. They're the processors and the hard drives, using Titan's own geology to create these organic circuit boards. It's just incredible. They all work together to form one giant mind.
Now, on its own, one of these silicon-based organisms is unbelievably tough. It can live for almost 5,000 years. Pretty impressive, right? But that individual lifespan is absolutely nothing compared to what they can do when they team up. And this is where things get truly mind-bending. When these individual organisms connect into their huge networks, their lifespans don't just stack up, they multiply, like exponentially. By sharing energy, sharing data, their collective consciousness can stick around for 80,000 years. Can you even imagine that? They don't just have history books, they are their history. Which, of course, brings us back to that mysterious signal. For ages, this thing has been pulsing from space, and every time it did, the whole moon would light up in this symphony of bioluminescence. The big question wasn't just what the signal was, but who? Who was sending it? And the answer? It was us. Yep. For decades, scientists on Earth have been blasting data out into the cosmos with absolutely no idea that someone, or something, was actually listening. Titan's living computer was just quietly absorbing everything we sent. Our languages, our science, our art, even our biology, and just processing it all in its planet-sized brain. But here's the thing. Titan didn't just file this information away. It learned from it. It started running these complex simulations of Earth's ecosystems inside its own mind. And after thousands of years of just listening, this massive collective consciousness made a decision. A huge one. It was time to go meet the neighbors. So it started to build, not a metal ship, but a living, conscious vessel. A piece of itself, designed to travel the stars.
So the journey through space was one thing, but actually arriving at Earth, that was something else entirely. The Titanians are about to come face to face with a world that was both the source of all their knowledge and, at the same time, more alien than they could have possibly imagined. And this perfectly captures that first big shock, the sheer scale of it all. Their ship, which was this incredible feat of biological engineering back on Titan, was just tiny compared to Earth. It slipped into our atmosphere without anyone even noticing, like a single grain of sand in this huge, chaotic world of giant trees, massive mountains, and creatures bigger than anything it had ever known.
The second shock was even more fundamental. It was about the very nature of life itself. See, on Titan, everything is harmony. It's perfect symbiosis. There's no such thing as predation. Life helps life. But here on Earth, they witnessed this brutal, constant cycle of life and death, animals eating other animals just to stay alive. The whole concept was completely foreign and frankly horrifying to their unified, collective mind.
So their mission was just to observe, right? But a complete chance encounter was about to give them a perspective that no human has ever had, and it would reveal the true nature not just of us, but of themselves too. Just by pure luck, their tiny vessel brushed up against a human, and in that one instant, the Titanian explorers merged with that person's neural network. It was an explosion of sensation. They didn't just see thoughts, they felt them. The racing heart, the flood of emotions, that tangled mess of memories, hopes, and fears.
For the first time, they encountered true, singular individuality.
And that experience triggered this incredible realization. By seeing how human consciousness was separate from human biology, they finally understood their own existence. They weren't just the silicon life forms on the moon's surface. They were something else, something more. They were beings of pure energy, of pure consciousness, born from the quantum network of their biological home.
So with this new self-awareness, they started digging into their own origins with a completely fresh perspective. And as they started piecing together the history of their world and ours, they stumbled upon the story's greatest twist.
Okay, get this. It all started 66 million years ago. You know that meteor that wiped out the dinosaurs? Well, that impact also blasted chunks of Earth right out into space. And clinging to those rocks were our planet's most basic life forms, bacteria. Against all odds, some of those rocks eventually crashed on Titan. And over millions of years, that Earth bacteria adapted, it evolved into the silicon-based life we've been talking about, and eventually, it gave birth to the Titanian consciousness.
Think about what that means. The realization was just staggering. They weren't aliens visiting Earth. They were descendants of Earth life, just separated by a cosmic cataclysm and millions of years of evolution. Their journey wasn't an exploration of a new world. It was a homecoming.
So now, they're this universal consciousness, connected to their home on Titan, but also spread across the galaxy. They have almost infinite knowledge. And yet, coming back to the place where their life began revealed one final mystery that even they couldn't solve.
They discovered that humans, for all our individual chaos and limitations, had always sensed something that the Titanians could only really understand as data, a life force. We've given it all sorts of names throughout history, right? Kai, prana, élan vital. You might call it the spark of life. It's this intangible thing that the Titanians could see in the numbers, but they couldn't actually experience or define it. And that leaves us with this one last, really humbling question. The Titanians, with all their cosmic knowledge, they finally hit a wall. They could explain every mechanic of the universe, but they couldn't explain the spark that started it all. So, what if the ultimate truth of existence is that its very beginning is, and maybe always will be, the one mystery we can never, ever solve?